Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Pop Cult X Little Talks. It's our conversation series where we chat with a wide variety of creative-minded people. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by an actor, a writer, who's appeared in over 100 TV shows, films, and commercials, and he puts on his website, which I'm reading right now. Some of his favorite gigs include his recurring role as Detective Marino on Chris Rock's Everybody Hates Chris, and this made me laugh when I read this, a burnt-out video game character, Luigi, on MTV Network's Video Game Reunion. So welcome, everyone. Please welcome PJ Marino to Pop Cult X.
Hey everyone.
Thank you, PJ. Thanks for taking some time. We really appreciate that. And what drew me first when I started following you on Twitter, because that's how we connected, was that you were writing I guess it was like your coming of age story,
right?
In Boston. And I saw that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to learn more about that. I've always been a fan of like the Irish culture, especially as it pertains to like Boston and that area. I'm a big fan of like Dropkick Murphys or, Flogging Molly, that music. So tell me a little bit. Let's start off with that. Well, actually, Let's back up and let's start off a little bit before that. How did you get into acting and writing? Give us your little spiel there. So
I was going to college in Massachusetts for marketing, and no interest in the arts really that I knew of at that time. And then I went to a place called Merrimack College, and they had this program called cooperative education. So basically, it's very popular at Northeastern University and Merrimack, where you work for 4 months. You go to school for 4 months, and then you work for 4 months, and you keep rotating like that until you graduate. Right. So you finish a year later, but basically every time your work term is up, you have to interview and find a job. So it's like being in the job market. So
right.
But I always ended up taking an accounting type job because they paid more. And I just, for some reason, those are the ones that found me first. I didn't really want to do that, but I was basically making money to pay for the following semester.
Gotcha.
I paid for my own tuition. So one of my jobs, I was working for this mutual fund accountant. I was working as a mutual fund accountant. And one of the guys in my little area on my floor, people would come by and say, "Hey, I saw you last night. You were really funny. Hey, that was a great show." And I'm like, "What do you do?" to the guy. He's like, "I'm a comic." I'm like, "Oh." Nice. And I think I had maybe only been to like one stand-up comedy show in my life at that time. I was about 19.
Okay.
And we kind of just chatted back and forth. And then at the end, he's like, "Why don't you do an open mic? I'll sign you up." And I said, "No, I don't. I said, I'm talking a big game, but I don't want to do it." And then the next day, he just comes in and I'm doing my, whatever job I'm doing at the computer. And he goes, February 15th. And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I signed you up February 15th for the open mic at Nick's downtown in Boston." So I was like, "All right." I think I had like a month before that.
Okay.
So, because it was at the beginning of my work term. So he said, "Get 5 minutes, write 5 minutes and you'll go up." So I did it on a lark because of that guy. I mean, he changed my life.
That's crazy.
And then it just passed. My February 15th was my 30-year anniversary of that night. It was 1993. So, and then from the first time I went on stage, I was just like, okay, I'm at home here. This is where I belong. But still, I didn't realize it quite yet. I mean, I knew I loved it. But then I finished school and I graduated and I started interviewing for jobs in summer of 96.
Okay.
And I'm like, every time I would get an interview, I was like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. I don't want to be at a desk. I mean, and I grew up working in restaurants, and actually the north end of Boston, which is the Italian section, not the Irish section. So it's like the other side of the coin.
Gotcha.
In regards to that situation. So I was working in a restaurant all that summer. I was doing stand-up. I did stand-up for about 4 years. And then I did a play in 96. And that was when I was like, okay, if I like this play, maybe I'll consider pursuing acting. And I think if I had a bad experience during doing that play, I probably would have quit right away. Oh. But it was a really nice production in the south end of Boston, in a really nice theater with maybe 150 seats.
Okay.
And it was just a wonderful production. It was called Toast. And from the moment the first night, I just loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I want to do. And then I saved up as much as I could and did a couple of, I got really lucky. I did a commercial out of Boston.
Oh, okay.
And it was a union commercial. So I got into SAG that way. It was for Nike with Ken Griffey. So I got to shoot at Fenway Park, which was like a dream because I'm a huge baseball fan.
Okay, we'll talk about that later on.
So I ended up getting cut out of it, but I got into the union. Yeah, right. I got into the union and I moved to LA. I met another guy. We did like a low budget independent film called Bender about college kids on a bender. And I played the wackiest of the wacky guys. And then we moved to LA, and I still didn't think I'd last. I'm like, I'll give it a year or two and see if I like it. And then I got my first TV audition like a little over a year in town. I got a pilot audition for Fox. Okay, and they were looking for Boston accents.
Oh, okay.
It was called Costello. This comedian Sue Costello was the lead. She was like getting groomed to be the next Roseanne. Like that was their thing. Like it was the same producers as Roseanne producing this show. So I remember it was the wildest. It was my first TV audition, so I didn't know what the norm was. But I had like 4 or 5 callbacks, and the callbacks were crazy. They were mixing and matching us with different actors.
Right.
And I was like, this is nuts. And then, and they would, of course, they saw like every Boston comic that was in LA at the time. They saw all. So I would see guys that I knew from stand-up comedy scene in Boston. So it was fun, and I felt at home, And then I ended up booking it. So I got my first commercial audition, booked it. First TV audition, booked it. So I was like that guy that everybody hates. and then I just started working after that. It didn't come easy, but I auditions, and then just started getting small roles on TV shows, and just kept going. And now, I've been here over 25 years.
30 years.
So well, 30 since the stand-up show. Yeah.
Okay.
But I came to LA in 97.
Okay.
So it's been like 26 years. Yeah.
That's
it goes
really
by
cool.
In the blink of an eye. So that's I'm kind of long-winded, but that's the gist.
It was a long elevator ride.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, I did theater and acting all throughout high school and tried.
Where are you from?
Originally San Diego area.
Okay.
So that was really fun. And I got bit by that acting bug really early as well. So once there's nothing like being in front of a live audience. There really isn't. It's just like the adrenaline rush and the partial fear of messing up, in front of everyone. So it's just like, wow. So I know what you mean. It's just a wonderful.
Yeah, I wish there were more sitcoms when, with the audience. They don't have it. They're making a little comeback right now, but they don't have them as much as they used to. And I've done several of them, and those are just so much fun. The audience and
I think it's more of the shows where like scripted or like the not scripted, but more
single
of a
single
cam show, kind of like a Ted Lasso type thing where it's not going to be in front of an audience. Yeah.
As opposed to the multicam. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of those type of shows, I saw that you are going to be in the upcoming season of Winning Time.
Yes.
That's exciting. We had on Pop Cult X, we spoke with Rodney Barnes about season 1 of Winning Time. And it's an awesome show. I love that show.
It is. It's brilliant. I love it.
I'm not a basketball fan at all, but I watched that show. I binged it. It was just so great. It was wonderful.
Yeah. I can't wait for it to air. I think they're not sure when it's going to air yet. They're probably summer, but they didn't give us any dates yet. Yeah.
What was your
Rodney wrote for Everybody Hates Chris, and I was on that too. And Rodney was he's a great writer.
Yeah, he is. He's really fantastic. What was your experience like that shooting for that type of HBO series? Is that any different than a network series, or are they all pretty much the same as when it comes to?
It feels like a network. I mean, it might as well be network. It's just that it can be edgier because it's on cable. But it was just a dream to be on that set. I was so excited to work on it because I love the show. I grew up in the 80s going to the Boston Garden like all the time. So like being able to be in that world where you're like I have a scene with Magic Johnson and I have a scene with Norm Nixon. And I'm like, I feel like I'm really there. The casting director, Francine Maisler, and oh my God, I'm forgetting the woman, her partner in that. because Francine is someone I've seen many times over the years. But the casting is brilliant. The team they cast with all the players and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, it genuinely feels like I felt like I was in the '80s talking to Magic Johnson. So
That's cool.
I'm just like, oh my God, it's just the best thing ever. And I have
really
a scene
cool.
in the team plane, and I mean, I can't say more, but yeah,
Right. Understood.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, and they shoot on film, which is very rare these days.
Oh, okay.
They shoot on 35, and they do all kinds of mixed media. They do 35. They did some Super 8, I think.
Right.
And I think they might do some digital, but it's so like stylistic. It's just so much fun.
Exactly. It's to be more authentic to the time era.
Yeah, but then they do fun things like breaking the fourth wall. I mean, they just do it. They do whatever they want, So yeah,
which is kind of the exciting part of it. I think it makes it really a great show.
Yeah. So I actually pursued it because when I saw the first season, I was like, oh my God, I have to be on the show. Like, especially if they go to Boston. I didn't know if they were going to go to Boston in season 2 some more. Mm-hmm. But I just honestly, I reached out to Francine and said, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, but I'd love to contribute in any way. I love the show. No role is too small. Keep me in mind, Yeah. And because I hadn't seen her in quite a bit. And then I got an audition like a month later. And
let me ask you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Does a rapport with casting directors, how vital is that to someone who's trying to, you see casting directors, I'm sure you see them over throughout your career several times. Does having a good rapport with them, does that lead you more likely to be remembered? Oh, hey, yeah, PJ, let's bring him in or something like that.
I mean, absolutely. Everything in this town and everything in entertainment is relationships. I mean, it's all about who you know and creating your network of people that support your work, So like the way that I started, honestly, when I first got to town, after I did the pilot for Fox in 1998, I thought, oh, I'm on a pilot now. I'm going to be working all the time. But it wasn't like that. I went right back to my bartending job. I started doing casting director workshops back then just to meet.
Okay. That's cool.
I was very smart back then because I was meeting all like the assistants and associates that were like lower on the totem pole. I was meeting as many as I could. I was targeting the shows that I felt like I belonged in their world. Shows like King of Queens and
right. Okay.
Just shows with blue collar guys that use a lot of guys like me. Like I wouldn't target as much like the soap opera type stuff. Like that's more pretty people. I'm more character-y. But getting to your point, so I was doing tons of casting director workshops and meeting all the assistants, and then keeping in touch with postcards, and then I started getting auditions for small roles through those relationships, and then you got to do good work. You got to come prepared and be ready to rumble and be ready to do something different if they give you a note. And then little by little, I just started meeting all the casting directors, and then over the years, and then they all started rising. And then all of a sudden, like a casting director like Sherry Thomas is, she's a force now in town. She does Barry, and she did Breaking Bad, and she does tons of shows. And then they just usually they find out who reps you and they call you in, and then if you can keep in touch, however you can keep in touch, and whether it be postcards or even the occasional email or social media is important, to stay positive and keep showing people what you're doing.
Right on.
You got to just keep meeting people.
How
did that
did
answer your question?
It did very much. How did you transition or get into the writing side of your creative talent? How did that come about?
Yeah, I wish honestly I had started even earlier, but right after I did Costello, I was like, oh, I want to create my own sitcom, and I did try to develop a show about the North End where I grew up, like in a coffee shop. It was called Bella Napoli, and like I that was like the first thing I had ever written.
Okay.
I had been reading a lot of sitcom scripts at that time, auditions and working on Costello and doing other things. But then I didn't write that much after that. I really should have stuck with it and really kept working on that. I had written a Simpsons spec back right around that time too. Like I love the Simpsons. I'm like a Simpsons fanatic. And it came like second in a contest, entered it into like one. But it wasn't like one of the big contests. It was Scriptapalooza, so that's pretty decent, I guess. But it was like it's like first or second year back then. It was like a long time ago. But then that was it. I should have kept going. And then I kind of put it aside. It was busy working and, acting and doing whatever side jobs to keep going. But then like around, I would say 2000, maybe 12, 14, I started really working on more features.
Okay.
And focusing on, okay, I want to get some features made. Like I want to, create my own work. And then it just took time for me to get better, honestly, because my early scripts were not that great. And then the more you do it, the better you get. It's like a muscle. You got to just keep doing it.
Right.
And,
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Stronger and stronger.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm in a place now that when I start on something, I start from a much higher level,
Oh, that's cool.
like the latest one I'm working on, like you were talking about the coming of age one, like I feel like it's really close to getting to a point where it's ready to really start showing people, like industry people that's the goal, is to get it made soon. So also just to keep busy, when I have downtime, I just want to keep busy. So you just write. And I love writing. I enjoy it. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, you also have a feature that's being released this year that you wrote and you're starring in, and that's Captain Tsunami's Army. What can you tell us about that?
I'm super, super excited about Captain Tsunami's Army. I mean, we've been working on it since I wrote it, and I think at the end of 2017, going into 18. Okay. And then really quickly got funding through a friend. A friend reached out to me, actually. It was really serendipitous that he wanted to invest in something, and he knew I was a writer. And I was like, yeah.
Okay.
So, it was awesome. And it was inspired by my kids. I have two 7-year-old boys. So back then they were like, 2 years old. But they loved this. There was this fish book that we would read it to them. They loved it. It was like the alphabet fish book. So like, A is for Atlantic Ocean, B is for Barracuda. Nice. Every letter had a fish. So that was like, just got my brain spinning. Like, I want to write something that involves fish, and then I like comic. I also like, superhero movies. So it has a superhero comic book bent.
Nice.
So, but we shot a full feature in 2019 for the script. And then the goal was to do pickup days in 2020. So the company, basically the production company that got on board, that are friends of mine, that I did the video game reunion show that I did, that was one of my favorite things. So as the company that did that, they were like really young when I met them that was the first thing they had ever done. And since then they've been growing their production company. So they got on board to produce it. So that basically they were putting up like they were using the investment we had and then putting up all their resources and
I gotcha.
Production facilities and everything. So it kind of gave us like kind of twice the money with their soft costs, if you will. So they were like, okay, we'll just get it in the can, and then we'll see what we need, and we'll shoot, because it's still low budget, and then we'll see what we need in 2020. And then 2020 happened, and they were like, everything's on hold. They were just trying to basically stay afloat.
Yeah.
And which they did, thankfully. And then it was like, okay, 2021, we started kind of reevaluating, like, what should we do with this? And they basically let me cut it. And then I had a cut, and then we were happy with the cut, but we thought that we had more, it could evolve into something better. So we decided to use the footage and shoot some more.
Okay.
And then we ended up finally last March shooting like 70 more pages.
Oh, wow.
And we got, I had met this young actress, Madeline McGraw, who she was in Black Phone. She was like the sister in Black Phone.
Okay.
So in 2020, I did a commercial with her. She played my daughter.
Oh, nice.
Right before everything shut down. And I just was like, who is this little actress? She's brilliant. Like, she's eyeing on cue. And I was like, she's going to be a star. So the family's super nice. So I just stayed in touch with them. And then we wrote this role for her to play my daughter.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. And at first I talked to the mom, and I'm like, would she be up for this? And she's like, yeah, we'd love to. I was like, great. So we have now she's like a lead in the movie too. And so we're finishing the rough cut right now. So we have almost a rough cut. So we're hoping it should be done by summer.
Okay.
And then we're going to plan our attack with regards to like sales, or, we'll probably do some, I want to do some festivals, but the production company that they're also going to help distribute it, they're going to kind of guide that. They don't really care much about festivals. They're like, no, we're just going to sell it, dude. We want to make money. Yeah. but I just selfishly, I want to go to some festivals just because I'm like, I drive the whole movie. It's really exciting. Right. So I play two roles now because I have the 2019 stuff and then the new footage is like kind of the grounded stuff. So I'm
Okay.
like almost like Princess Bride, So like
Oh,
I'm the
I
guy.
gotcha.
So it's fun to be able to play two
Oh,
roles. So
that's
that,
exciting.
yeah. So
That's
high
really
hopes
exciting.
it's gonna lead to a lot of really great things for me. And my wife's the lead in the role Tessa Monroe, and she's fantastic in it.
Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
we have this guy Craig Frank. He's in what's it called, Alaska Daily.
Okay.
He's in that show, and then we have Jeremy Sisto. It's just a fun cast.
Yeah, that sounds really
Yeah,
cool. I'm looking forward to
yeah,
watching that, especially now after meeting you. So it's
yeah.
really cool.
And thanks.
It's
And it's funny, Jeremy. We haven't kept in touch. I mean, I haven't really kept in touch much with Jeremy Sisto,
mhm.
and like he has no idea right now what we're doing with the movie. But like he shot all this great footage. He plays Captain Tsunami,
Okay.
and it's like green screen stuff where he gets to be a superhero. So
Nice.
I can't wait to finally say, "Hey, this is what we're doing." I think he's going to be really happy. It's going to be a really good, fun movie.
A
So
little fun surprise for him. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Now, I'm looking at your website, pjmarino.com for everyone out there,
Thank you.
and I see your North End Prince Productions that you have a lot
Yeah,
of stuff under development, which is kind of cool. So you've been busy writing quite a bit.
yeah, yeah.
Is there a certain like do you keep to like a certain regime when you're in the writing mode? Do you like write at a certain time daily? Do you when you get inspired you write,
Yeah.
or is this something like you try to do every day?
Yeah, I mean, once I get into a script, I'm kind of fanatic. Like I will write as much as I can every day. If I'm into it, I'll write. I'll sometimes 10 hours a day.
Oh
I'll keep
wow.
yeah, in between, helping my
Yeah.
wife with the kids and but yeah, I'll stay up late and just keep writing. If I'm in the groove, I'm kind of fanatic about it. And yeah, and even when I'm not writing, I'm thinking about it. I'm going for a jog and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
the scene or something. Or but like right now, I'm thinking about Captain Tsunami cut, like how we. I'm going to actually work on the rough cut a little bit myself, which is really exciting. They're going to let me kind of dive in and
Oh
make
nice.
changes. It's really cool to have like a low budget thing where you can really, be
Yeah.
part of the whole process. Yeah. So, but yeah, in regards to writing, yeah, I'm just constantly. I'll work all the time until I get the draft done. With the one I'm working on now, it's called Candy Boy. So I have a draft that I'm happy with. I'm going to meet with two friends who are going to produce it with me. They're
Okay.
also Boston guys. So we're going to have like our first meeting this weekend. So that's
Nice.
exciting. And then we're
That's
going to kind of
cool.
plan our attack. Yeah, what we're going to do next. So
That's really
yeah,
cool.
we'll
That
see.
is that is exciting.
Yeah, but I have several on like in the website. There's two other ones that I'm really close to hopefully getting going soon. One is a horror comedy called Jack from the Dead.
I was going to ask you
Uh,
about that one
yeah,
because
that's like I feel like we're right on the cusp of getting it made, but until it happens, you don't know. But
yeah,
I have a couple of parties interested.
that's cool.
And yeah, that one I would play. They're like it's only 6 characters, but so I would be like there are 6 lead. They're all leads because it's like an ensemble. But
Mm-hmm.
that one I would be the 6th lead. I wrote the smallest lead for myself so that I could have like star names come in and
Right on, right. I hear you.
yeah.
You're
So
going very M. Night
yeah.
Shyamalan on that, huh?
Yeah, so like in a perfect world scenario, hopefully we'll be shooting that like in the next like 3 months. Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, I wasn't really much of a horror fan
Mhm.
until I really started watching a lot of horror comedies. And it's
Mhm.
really just been, I was like, you know what? Why have I never seen these? Why have I just been pushing these off to the side because
Yeah.
was a horror bent or whatever? It's
They're
not that
so
I
much
get,
fun.
they are so much fun. They're so clever with them. You can go so many different routes with them. So
Yeah.
that's exciting too.
Yeah. With me, I basically just start with a genre and then like I don't consider it a comedy at all. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't not write comedy the way from my background. So like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write a horror movie now. But then it just becomes a horror. Even when the first guy I had this one producer optioned it in 2019, that script,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of it was the first time I was like, oh, maybe the script is good. Because I hadn't sent it out much. It was kind of like just a
Okay.
little thing I did really fast. But he said, it's really funny. I'm like, really? Because I kind of was thinking of it more horror, like horror
Yeah.
thriller
Yeah.
even.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, it's a horror comedy, man. It's a comedy. I'm like, okay. And yeah. So the more he kind of pumped me up to thinking, yeah, it's
Right
yeah,
on.
I can't not write comedy basically.
If
Yeah,
it's in you, it's in you, right? What
yeah,
can you do? You
yeah,
can't help it. You're comedic and comic, and it's in your background. You just got to run with it. Why try and push it down and hinder your abilities? Um, so we are a pop culture podcast, and we do like to
Mhm.
talk about a lot of pop culture things. So I like to ask our guest interviews, what are you currently watching? What are you currently
Mhm.
reading, listening to? Give me your top five, not of everything, but of top five things that are currently garnishing your most attention or
Right.
time that you have available.
Well, right around this time in the last like few weeks, we, as a SAG member, you get like all the SAG screeners, like you get
Oh,
the
okay.
access to them digitally. Most they don't give the hard copies as much as they
Yeah.
used to. But yeah, so we've been watching. Just my wife and I have been plowing through all the movies to make sure we've seen. I want to see all the Academy Award
Oh, of course.
nominated movies. And, they send them to us for the SAG Award, but it's just a lot of them the same thing. So that's what we've been watching a lot lately. We just actually we got through most of the movies,
Okay.
and so all the nominated films basically we've been watching those. I was really blown away at All Quiet on the Western Front. We watched that one like last week,
Okay.
and it was a beautiful, beautiful movie, brutal and beautiful. It's a German film. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it yet. I know it's on Netflix, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's really worth watching. It's really
Okay.
beautiful.
I just did watch The Fabelmans, though.
Okay. Did you like The Fabelmans?
Oh, I thought that was a brilliant Steven Spielberg movie. It was just, I see Michelle Williams, why she was nominated. She was just
she's fantastic.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And it had probably the best explanation for me of what motion pictures was. I can't remember the exact quote, but Bert Fabelman, the father, was talking to the child about why I can't be afraid of the movies because they're just motion pictures going at 24 frames per second. So your mind can't perceive that. You can't forget the past image before the new one appears. And that's what makes it look like they're moving. I thought that was like the best explanation I've ever heard of what a movie is.
That was cool. Dano, right?
Yeah.
Paul Dano.
Yeah. Paul Dano. Exactly.
I thought the kid was really great. I love seeing a new actor come in and just crush a role. I thought the kid who played the lead, he was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I love Babylon. People are kind of hot and cold on Babylon. Did you see it?
Have not yet. I've seen
if you got to see Babylon. You got to see Babylon. Like I think the night after I watched it, I think I tweeted, every person that's interested in making film needs to watch. Like it should be mandatory. You should watch this before you make a production because I mean Chazelle's a mad genius.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I don't really like to listen to critics. I just watch it for myself.
People are vehemently, one way or the other, it seems, which is good, I think,
Yeah, I guess you don't want to be meh in the middle, right? So you want to make, that's the whole point of making a movie is making people feel. Yeah.
And we also just we watched Severance. We finally watched Severance.
Oh yes, I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Oh
really
my
good.
goodness, yeah.
And we just watched the first couple episodes of Blackbird. I don't know if you've seen that one. That's one with Taron Egerton and Paul Walter Hauser.
Is that Apple TV?
It's Apple. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I just started watching Hello Tomorrow with Billy Crudup.
Yeah, I want to see that. And I think Stephen Falk is the director, right? He did You're the Worst.
I'm not sure who directed it.
He's a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a while, but I'm so happy. Yeah, because he was on a podcast recently, and I was listening to it. But yeah, I want to see that. And that is where is that showing? That's HBO.
That's on Apple TV Plus.
That is on Apple. Also.
Yeah, and it's just so fantastic. It's the retro futurism of it. It's just I love that. I love that style. So that
will be
really
totally up my alley.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. I mean, you said you were a Star Wars fan, so yeah, I think you'll enjoy it with the different robots they have on there.
Cool. And then what am I listening to? I mean, I'm still listening to a lot of old music. It's funny, like 2020, like I was, we were all home a lot, and I just started like deep diving into Smashing Pumpkins again because I hadn't listened to them in a while, and I just was like falling in love with the Pumpkins all over again. Again. I mean, yeah. I was watching all their old concerts, because I was missing concerts in 2020.
It's funny you said old music. And for me, old music is like my parents' music, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the Beatles and
love the Beatles. Yeah.
Mamas and the Papas, everything from that 50s and 60s era or 60s and 70s. But yeah, I guess the 90s are old music now, right? For the younger generation, it's old music. That's scary because 90s is like my wheelhouse of music. It's like my favorite era of music. I don't think
Pearl Jam. I saw Pearl Jam at the Forum back in May.
Nice.
We had tickets for 2020 and then it got pushed, but I was so happy to that was my first concert, after the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Great. They were great. Yeah. We got Madonna tickets. My wife and I got to go see Madonna. I have never seen her. We've never seen her. So we're like, okay, this is our chance to finally see her.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's cool.
My
co-host, Gabe, who couldn't make it tonight, but he's a huge concert fan. So he goes to like all the concerts and everything. I'm like, great. I get jealous, even though I live in Vegas now and it's like the entertainment capital of the world, but the tickets are so darn expensive up here.
So it's expensive. Like everywhere. Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I would, if I could, I would go like every once or twice a month, I would go see a concert, but it's so expensive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's, for me, I think live music is it's just so moving because you feel the intent of the musicians, feel the intent of the music more so than you can capture, through a speaker, I guess. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
And speaking of like, how expensive they are, when Prince played at the Forum, he played for like a month in LA. This is like 2013 or 14. Uh-huh. He was selling the tickets for $25. He had this, like the ones close that were like, I think 125, and then everything else was $25.
Right. I remember he had some big spat with like Ticketmaster, and that's why he chose to do something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, cool. Like that was an amazing concert. He had like a different guest on every night, and he would do different sets every night. I mean, he was just amazing.
Yeah, he was.
I miss him.
Completely agree. Yeah, he was just a genius. If people want to follow you and stay in touch with you, where can they find you on social medias?
So I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm on Instagram. Those are the two best places. Yeah, I don't do any TikTok, but I can only I only have so much bandwidth for. Right. I like Twitter and I like Instagram. I'm there, but I'm not like I'm usually on Twitter some more. I like the people that I follow on Twitter.
Right on.
Although it has been getting a little weird since Elon.
Just a little.
Yeah, it's been getting weird. But there's just some really great, like I follow a lot of screenwriters and filmmakers, and it's really easy to interact on Twitter. Instagram, I find it less interactive. It's more you just post and you click like, but you don't really go back and forth as much.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree. There's different things for like I use a lot of Instagram for like a lot of my photography stuff, and I think it's more of a visual social media, whereas Twitter is going to be where you're really doing like your heavy networking and your heavy, discussion stuff. So yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, PJ, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate that. Everyone out there, go follow PJ on Twitter, go follow him on Instagram, and look for his new movie when it does get released. That's going to be exciting. So thank you again. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much. Take care.